Whether you're trying to land a new role or you're trying to just stand out in your current role, my Amazon experience will truly, truly change the way you think about your career. I went through Amazon's 7-hour long interview process. Yes, 7 hours. I prepared for weeks. It was a grueling, grueling experience. Multiple rounds, a written assessment, and a loop. The loop is a series of back-to-back interviews on the very same day that lasted 5 hours. And after all of that, I didn't get the offer. But that experience completely changed the way I showed up at work. It helped me exceed expectations on my performance reviews year after year. My story will change how you approach your career also. But before I get into how the interview process transformed me, we must talk about how I even got the job interview in the first place. Because as you know, getting into Amazon is extremely difficult. The way I approached this from the very, very beginning was completely different. A common belief, especially in big tech, is the only way to get an interview is to know someone on the inside. Let me tell you right now, that was not the case in my situation. I did not have a referral. How I actually got this interview came down to a few things. I applied on July 4th. Yes, July 4th, it was a holiday. The job was actually posted on July 3rd, the day before. Why does that matter? Because recruiters aren't waiting months to collect hundreds of resumes. They're looking for the right person right now. So if you see a job that you're serious about, don't wait. You must apply early. Now, let's be clear. Just applying early does not guarantee you anything. You still need to show them that you understand what they're looking for in that role and how you can help them solve their problems. And the key to doing this is truly understanding what they're hiring for, even if it's not spelled out clearly in the job description, because it wasn't for me. I actually copied and pasted the job description to save it because I knew that once the job was closed, I couldn't go back and reference it and it would be taken down. So I saved it for my notes. So when I read this job description, nowhere did it mention Salesforce CPQ, which is a product I work on. But I wasn't searching for a job title. I was searching for keywords when I was searching for a new job. I was searching for pricing, revenue, quote to cash. That's how the role even showed up for me. And once I read through it, I could clearly see that these problems that Amazon had, I can truly help solve. But here's the thing. Even if you know that you're a great fit for the role, the recruiter has to know it also. That's where your resume comes in and is key. Your resume should tell the story of what you've done in the past with results. And I'm not just talking about tools and tasks that you completed, but the outcomes are key. Outcomes. It should be obvious to the recruiter or hiring manager that you've solved this in the past, the same type of problem, and you can help the company solve their problems as well. But once your resume opens the door, what happens next is where things truly, truly get real. Because getting the interview is one thing. Now, navigating through the whole process, at Amazon at least, that was no joke. The process moved relatively quickly. There was a phone screening with the recruiter, a second round interview, written assessment, and also a third interview. And finally, there was the loop, which was 5 interviews on one day. It was so intense. 5 hours, sitting for 5 hours on an interview, selling yourself. It was the craziest experience I've ever had. Each conversation focused on something different, from product thinking, cross-functional collaboration, behavior scenarios, leadership experience. All of this centered around Amazon's leadership principles. At first, I had no idea what they were, but Amazon gives you a documentation for you to study, before the interview. And those principles, they were not just like buzzwords, like this is what we believe in. They were the driving force for the interview, for every single question. I spent weeks preparing. I thought about multiple stories for each principle. I practiced out loud. I reframed examples. I studied Amazon, the role, the culture, everything. I didn't wing it. I was ready. A few days after the loop, I got a call, not an email, but a call from the recruiter. I'm sorry to let you know that they decided to move on with someone else. I put in the work. I showed up. I gave it everything I had, and still the answer was no. I'll never know exactly why I didn't get the offer, but I do know this. It just wasn't my time for that position, and that's okay. And once I got through the disappointment, something happened. I felt smarter at my current role. In the back of my mind, I thought, hey, I just went through the final round of interviews at Amazon, and I was extremely proud of that. More importantly, I started looking at problems differently at my current role. That process taught me to always ask why. Why are our users frustrated? Why did this defect occur? Why are we doing things this way? Is there a better option? I stopped reacting and I started understanding. And I asked myself, how can I elevate myself and the team I work with even higher? The one biggest thing I took from the Amazon process definitely was their leadership principles. I didn't know much about them at first, but once I started studying them, everything started to click. There are 16 Amazon principles, but I was given 10 to focus on during the interview, and I was being evaluated on those 10. They were ownership, deep dive, earns trust, deliver results, invent and simplify, insist on the highest standards, have backbone, disagree, and commit. And let me tell you, these principles were woven into every part of that interview process. And here's the part I truly didn't expect. Even though I didn't get that job, those principles stuck with me. I started applying them at work. They genuinely changed the way I think, how I lead, how I showed up at work. So in the next video, I'm going to walk you through each of those principles, how Amazon actually tested for them in those interviews, and more importantly, how you can apply them in your current role to grow faster, to lead stronger. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. And let me know below in the comments if you've ever been rejected and that rejection ended up shaping you for the better.